mentioned, I'm doing some research, and you had told us this previously, but where and when were you born?
I was born in Bocas del Toro, January 24th of 1929.
And when did you arrive in the U.S.?
September 2nd of 1948.
Wow. So Louis Russell Orchestra was in their peak kind of in 1947 and 1948 with a lot of performances, but you didn't meet him until when?
Well, in the early 50s, maybe 49, 50. And I never heard that orchestra.
Never.
I knew they appeared at the Apollo several times,
Yes.
and they were at the Savoy several times, but I never heard the orchestra.
That was another question we had.
Yeah.
Whether you'd ever heard them.
Right. So, but you talked about the record, The Very Thought of You,
Yeah.
and being a hit in Panama.
Yes.
And you lived in Cologne.
Yes.
But talk about that.
I started a musical career out of tragedy. In 1940, there was a huge fire in Cologne. Almost half the town went up in smoke. And I lost my first piano in that fire. Because when you imagine the fire started, maybe two miles away. And it was a very suspicious fire. I mean, zigzag course it took. And no one expected that fire to reach where we lived. But then I was able to stand and witness the burning of my first piano.
Oh.
Gone in the fire. Well, my mother, I don't know where she got her information. She worked as seamstress on the Army base. They did a lot of alterations and stuff. She must have picked up some information somewhere. But she entered me in a radio contest. And guess what? I won the preliminary, and then I won the final. We never did know who the judges were. These were, from what we heard, we were white folks who listened on the radio from their homes, and they made their decision. So that be a career for me at age 12. And by age 14, some professionals decided, hey, wait a minute, that young man has some talent. Let us approach him and see if you'd be interested in playing in the orchestra. Okay. I told them that I've talked to my mother, which they did, and she said, well, I'm not exactly sending him out to work or anything like that, but you can, no. We will be responsible. We'll come get him. We will bring him back. And that was 1943. And I remained with that, playing all that stock music. They thought I was a good reader. I got through, all that stock until I left in 48. Along with that, I came along with some radio work. I didn't get any specialized training in accompanying or anything like that. But I got referrals. People coming to town, going to do a show somewhere on the radio, in the theater. Call the kid up the block. And I thought I did pretty well with that. I was able to save my fare. One of the radio jobs I had was, and I'm sorry I didn't bring along a picture in case you're a little bit in disbelief there. They had 3 ships. They alternated in trips across the Atlantic. You had the SS Kahn, the SS Cristobal, and the SS Panama. Whenever the SS Panama came to Colon, the captain hosted a show called the Panama Showboat. Guess who was the accompanist? And I missed getting a free trip coming to this country because I missed booking the passage. I had saved money. It wasn't about the money, but the scheduling. Somebody decided that I couldn't afford the trip, so they didn't pay any attention to my making a reservation. A member of my family was very incensed. He said, "What? This guy doesn't own any ship. You go on back to the office and take your money and your passport." So I'm coming back from saying bon voyage to somebody on the SS Cristobal. They left on Fridays. And on the way back, I did what he said, took my cash and my passport, and got booked on the SS Kahn the following week.
And what was the port of entry in the U.S.?
New York.
New York. So so it basically went directly from Cristobal to New York City?
Yes.
Without stopping along
Yes.
the way?
And I don't remember stopping at Ellis Island or anything.
Oh.
I came straight to New York.
Wow.
Yeah. What pier, whatever it is, 80 what. Yeah. So that was about my entry.
How many days long was that journey?
Aha, I was hoping you wouldn't ask. Normally 5 days. But as you know that's around hurricane season. And we heard on the ship that, hey, we're getting heavy weather there. So the captain has slowed us down. So instead of 5, it was 6 days. We got a bonus.
Okay.
So, it was, aside from that, it was an enjoyable trip. And I got a bonus because aboard ship, like 2 days out, Friday? This was like the Monday. A gentleman said, "Didn't I see you? Do you remember the name MacDonald?" I said, "No." "You remember a couple came up to you at this club and made a request?" I said, "I remember that." He said, "I'm just saying to these people, I just saw you." This is Friday. Monday, a week almost. Tuesday night, we stopped at this club and you were playing. And you played a request for us. Well, they had a little reception aboard the ship and whatnot. So that was not anything to pass the time.
Yeah. What about the ship? I mean,
Accommodation?
yeah.
Good.
Good?
Yeah. All I had to remember, my roommate, my cabin mate, who was my dentist, he is passed, but his son is now my dentist, Robertson. And he would leave Panama. I think his father was either the manager or something of something clubhouse or something. But he was already in school here in New York. And he's coming back to school after the summer break. And he was my cabin mate. And he said, "One thing you got to remember, Frank, as soon as you get up, head for the top deck. This way you don't feel the motion of the ship."
Right.
I was really sick the first day out to sea. And I took his tip for it, and everything was fine
helped,
after
yeah.
that.
Yeah, because I always think about that.
Yes.
What kind of a journey
Yes.
would that have been,
But that trip was still no comparison with that Boca trip.
From going to
That
Cologne.
Boca trip, I don't want to ever remember it. My first trip, I told you, was in 1937.
Uh-huh.
We got lost out to sea.
Oh,
We ended up in Bluefields, Nicaragua, with my grandmother. Okay. Something, the ship was, I heard it, the rudder was damaged or something like that. We drifted into Bluefields.
oh,
So what should have been an overnight took us like 3 days.
Oh, no. And that was going from Cologne
To Boca.
to Focus.
Yes, yes.
And you ended up in Nicaragua.
Yeah, we ended in Nicaragua. And so, you didn't have
Provisions. You don't have any.
No, you don't have any radio,
Nothing.
Radar, all this kind of stuff. So you get two guys in a cayuco going out there to see if they can intercept anything at any other banana boat running along there to give us a help. And it took about, like I said, about 3 days before we pulled into Bocas.
Oh,
So it wasn't until 1943, I told you when I graduated to being a professional, my first big gig with the big band there, that I went to visit with my father and then the rest of the family there. And he said to me, "No, you're not going to take the boat back. You're going to fly."
nice.
And the gig was, the big celebration, what they call Sábado de Gloria. That's the Saturday after Good Friday. The Saturday between Good Friday and Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
It's a big festive occasion there. Well, I traveled on Good Friday because my father got me a flight early Good Friday morning. And that was my first flight from Bocas to Panama City, Field. And then Saturday morning, we went by bus to a place called, in the interior of Panama, called Panama. That's where we did that gig. And we came back Sunday. So that was the beginning of my professional career.
And that was with a big band?
Oh, yeah, it was a big band. This band played like the governor's ball and the special occasions. Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, I considered myself blessed. A 14-year-old, I didn't work. I was the envy of grown men, because when you consider a guy playing in the cabaret, you're doing like a day gig, 8 hours job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing 4.
So as a musician
Yes.
in Panama in 1943,
Yes.
that would have been right, around the time Louis Russell left Louis Armstrong, and he had been working with Louis Armstrong for 8 years at that point. Did the word filter back to Bocas? And
Okay.
Did you hear about that?
I didn't know that whether he went back. Did he ever go back, Kathy?
To Panama?
Yes.
He went back in the late 50s
Okay.
just to give for a last visit, and I think to see his mother.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gave a classical concert because he used to.
I missed that. That must have been
Yeah.
just before I met him then.
I think it was after.
50
I think it was after you met him.
This was in the late 50s, so I was, a baby when he went.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so this was after all that, after Town Hill, after all that.
Well, you know about Town Hill.
Well,
tell us about
yeah.
Town Hill. Tell us about it.
Town Hill. This was after the candy store, of course.
Yeah.
2 candy stores. There's one on Ralph Avenue, then there was another on Tompkins. Then the Town Hill, I mean, it was an elegant place. I remember him saying that he was asked to manage this club. So he came in, Uncle Clinton, myself, and Ralph Jones, drummer. We were the organ trio in the dining room, the back. And your mother, Edna Smith, bass player, and Pauline Williams was the drummer. This was the girl trio out in the lounge. Well, during the week it's slow. Come on. So there's no point for us being in the back. So we would come weekends. We would come up to the front, and that's when I met your mother. And I think your father met your mother. Mm-hmm. And well, next thing I know, hey, guess what?
One thing leads to another.
Kathy's on the way.
Yeah. She said that he had invited her over, for dinner or something like that. And so when she finally brought her overnight bag, she came and she set down the overnight bag to show him that she was going to stay overnight.
Oh.
And that smile came across his face.
Yes,
that was
indeed. Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, I can't tell you about that smile. He used to take me out, naturally, Sunday evenings. It was a big thing. Listen, I'm going to introduce you. Nobody knows about you. I think you have some talent that, you ought to meet some people. Okay. I kid you not. We will take off. I lived at Fulton Street near Kingston. And we take off. We start in Brooklyn, go to the Kingston Lounge. That's there at Bergen and Kingston. A little organist there. And then we graduate. He said, okay, we go to the village, the Bonsoir, with her name Thelma Carpenter singing there. I mean, he walks in the place and he smiles, and guess what? Didn't spend a dime. Didn't spend a dime. Everybody's buying us drinks. And he did not spend a dime. Okay? And, it was good. It was, everybody just embraced him everywhere. So that part of it. But going back to that Townhill, it's something about the place. It's now a Chase Bank. And before that, pharmacy. Pharmacy's still 2 blocks away because I think Chase paid them off to downsize.
So what was it? What's the address of that?
What?
You remember? Townhill?
No. It's 3 something or the Eastern Parkway.
Eastern Parkway?
Yeah. But that's my pharmacy now. That's
right.
And the Chase Bank is right at that corner. But we used to alternate. Your mother's the trio with the Smith, and the organ trio. Of course, we didn't move the organ. I played piano, and that first New Year's Eve, I remember your father, Frank, partner. I'll have to borrow some money. He said, I can't get any money from the owner, and it's silly. You're going to have New Year's Eve, and we have no stock. So he borrowed some money from me, stocked up for New Year's Eve, paid me off. Because, people went, celebrated, and he had stock.
Made his money back.
Oh, yes.
Who was the owner?
I think his name was Charles Keller. He was an attorney. I hope I'm not mistaken with that.
I think I heard that, yeah.
Yeah.
And so Louis Russell was the manager and booked the entertainment, or what was his?
At Townhill, yes.
Yeah. And you said it didn't really last, his thing there didn't last too long, right?
No, didn't. And as a matter of fact, I can't remember anything that lasted any longer at that location. Except my pharmacy and now Chase. Yeah. Because they started a baby grand uptown, downtown, something like that, a branch off, because there was a baby grand on Fulton Street.
Okay.
Near Nostrand. And I think they got greedy, and I think they were going to do something. It didn't last. Nothing lasted there. So that was the beginning of that. Well, the next thing I know, like I said, I decided I didn't against my best judgment, but I had to eat. Full-time musician. And so I took over somebody's second band. And talking with your father, there are a few gigs that he still held on to. There was one, I remember, a symphony, was that place in Newark. Is that Symphony Hall? Is that Symphony Hall?
Yeah, I would probably.
That was one of the gigs.
In the 50s.
I played his book. He didn't play anymore. I did the playing.
Okay, right, because we
And he would stand up and wave his
stand
hand.
up right.
And,
He led the band, but he didn't play.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I played the book. And he would get as many of the guys who were still around as possible. He said, I get Clyde so-and-so, the trombone, because he sings the blues.
Clyde Bernhardt.
Yeah, okay. And then you would get Bobby Ashton, I think. I think this was a lodge. Some lodge or the other, but this was like a gym where this was held. And we had the table, and under the table they had like the thing with ice and the sodas and the beer and whatnot. But at least once or every other year or so, you get the call to do the gig. So those gigs I did with him.
So I'm wondering if we have, because he kept a lot of the contracts.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure we have anything that late, though.
Now with
After 49, I don't think we have anything.
But I did see he did things in the 50s.
Yeah, so that's why we wanted to know.
And did some dances and
Well,
functions.
once you came along, Kathy, that's a different thing now.
Yeah.
Your father got a hold of a Fender Rhodes, not Fender Rhodes, but a Fender bass. And he didn't have bass amp. His mother was still using her guitar amp.
Mm-hmm.
But I started using her with my band.
Right.
Right.
She played with your band.
Yeah. So that's it.
She loved that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
That was great.
We
That
have
was a really
we have
great
photo,
band.
we have
photos of
photos
that.
photos of her with
You did?
your band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
Playing her bass.
Well, I haven't seen those before. It's one thing I started to ask the home attendant this morning to look in my album to see if she found a picture. There's a guy, he was really a fan of the band, and he would try to find anything on a Sunday afternoon, any excuse to have something on a Sunday afternoon, get folks to come, and he'd have good food. And of course, we supply the music for dancing and whatnot. And your mom would be right there with us.
She loved it.
And there was one picture, and I think,
You might have.
I don't remember the name of the hall, but it was 145th and St. Nick.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a bank downstairs, but it was upstairs. It was 5 of us. I think Uncle Clinton,
Boogs Fritz.
myself, Rav Jones, your mom. I don't remember who the other musician was. But yeah, we did that. That's like Sunday afternoon, 5 o'clock. So
Because I have a picture of myself, Dina, and Gary Fritz
oh boy,
from
yeah.
from one of those gigs. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was one of those Sunday afternoons.
Okay, all right.
Because I think Gary and I are about the same age, and Dina's younger than us.
True.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that would make sense. So Uncle Boogs was on those, no?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
I
inherited the band from Uncle Boog's brother.
okay.
So this guy could have been like, if you all remember, the Maya Davis of that period, that they booked all the gigs from like an office, and you just farm out musicians.
Yeah.
But guys get jealous, and so I remember him coming to me and said, Frank, the guys from the first band, and they're complaining, So would you take over the second band? So gladly, okay. And that's how I inherited that band until 52.
And
I started in 52.
Started in 52, yeah, because you were still doing that in the 60s.
Yes. Yes. And it started getting more and more difficult. People didn't want to pay the money. And I said, I don't know, I need to do this.
That was a good band.
And, with divine intervention, I began getting calls to do Broadway shows.
Yeah.
And, like my philosophy, you do something impressive, guess what? It leads to another. And that's how I made my connections. So I did. So, what your father's passing was really a shock, because I depended on him. If I doubted something with his experience and whatnot, I would go right to him first. Guess what? So and so and so. He would say, partner, so and so and so, don't. Oh, yeah, go ahead. And I trusted him. I never second guessed. I just knew that whatever he told me, well, was workable.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah.
he seemed to help people around him.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Did you know Nick Rodriguez?
Yes, that's another one. The two of them were like, I guess they were around that same period of time in Panama. I guess so. I don't know, quite remember what year Nick.
I think Nick came in 1928.
Okay.
And I asked you about him because I know he was also Panamanian,
Yes.
Panamanian piano player.
Yes.
And Louis Russell recommended him to Louis Armstrong, and Nick played for a short time in the All-Stars because Joe Glazer asked Louis Russell, but he wanted to stay home with Kathy. He didn't want to go back out on the road, so he said, but I know a good piano player I can recommend, and that's how that happened.
Well, the two of them were tight buddies.
Tight buddies.
Yeah. Oh, yes. And, what's so funny about that? After Louis's passing, then Rod kind of took his place.
Right.
You're talking about looking over, checking me out at every. Just call me. Just call me. Hey, Rod, so and so and so said, all right, I'll see you in a minute.
So he was helping you out.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah? Okay. Don't bother with it. That's all right.
So Rod.
Nick Rodriguez.
Oh,
Nick
I
Rodriguez.
see.
The-
Yeah.
the-
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
Panamanian fellow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jazz piano player.
Right. Oh, that's good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you knew him from here, not from Panama.
Yeah.
You knew Nick
No.
Rodriguez from
I
here.
didn't know him. The same as with your father. I didn't know them.
And how did you meet Louis Russell? How did you
I
first?
didn't remember.
Can't remember
Oh.
I
that.
remember.
Okay.
I can just go by saying that I stopped at that candy store on Ralph Avenue,
Okay.
and that was like my do drop in.
Okay.
After work, I knew I could go by the. He and Luther Brown were partners in the candy store. there.
Okay.
And I would go.
All right.
And I would not interrupt their routine, whatever it was, but I would be there. And I can't remember. Sometimes I would lend a hand if it's because they They also had the newspaper stand.
Right. Cigars and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Soda fountain. Because Uncle Luther's not in those pictures, but you are.
I think it might
So,
be Luther.
you see-
It's Luther, I think.
Yeah.
You know?
So that
We'll have to look.
We'll have to look. Yeah, we'll have to look.
don't remember exactly how the meeting went with him, but it was pleasantry all around.
Mm-hmm. Now, you picked out the Hammond organ
The Hammond organ was
yeah.
bought for Townhill.
for Town Hill.
Remember, I said that the back room, the restaurant portion of it, we had that organ
The
trio.
organ trio. So
Yeah.
you all found that
Yes,
for that
yes.
specifically
So that
for
was
that.
it. Mm-hmm.
I still have that organ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was that your mother had told me before.
Yeah. But,
But,
you know, it's where you're gonna put it, and so it's stored. So
Yep.
what I want to do is just have a studio, you know, take it and use it. So, or a school.
You remember when it was last played? Yeah, okay. Okay.
It's been a long time.
I remember the last
20
time,
years, maybe.
the last time I played. Maybe that's when that Lucille thing came about.
Yeah.
When he
Right.
lived on Patchen. I used to every so often go up there to the house.
Okay, so that's probably where that happened then, because I thought maybe you did that in Washington Heights.
Nah,
No, Brooklyn.
I think it was Patchen.
Yeah, because Mom sang out. Do we have that with us?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we have that
No.
recording. I meant to bring it to play for you because then you'd remember.
When I saw that on the CD, I
Yeah.
didn't even remember anything about
Yeah, I
that.
know. That's
Where did this come from?
All right, but we'll bring a copy when
we don't have that. We don't have her.
I have the 3 songs on. I can bring that.
Oh yeah. Okay, we might actually.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, while I'm thinking about it, Kathy, please leave me your card. Somebody lifted, and I suspect it might have been Dina from my file. Your address. When I heard about that fire in your neighborhood, I tried to call you to see if it, but then
Oh, this was a while ago.
yes, a couple of weeks ago, and I said, well, it's not that close. It's a couple blocks away.
No, I think that was the streets were all.
And I
hazy,
said, but
yeah,
I
here's
can't find the number. What happened? It's not. Thank you. Not in my file. Thank you.
Yeah, so that's everything.
Yeah.
So did Lewis Russell and Luther Brown own the shops together, or just one of them? Or?
That I don't know.
You don't know.
But I knew that they worked together in the candy store,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go by, of course. And yeah, it was good pastime.
So the papers that we have from Lewis, he was working in the 50s on getting citizenship.
Who?
Lewis Russell.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah, in the U.S. and he was corresponding about it, and I don't know if he ever succeeded. So he had an alien registration card.
Wow.
So is it difficult to get, if you come from Panama, to get U.S. citizenship, or?
It wasn't.
No,
Hey,
because you get your papers.
But why I'm surprised is because I found out upon joining Local 802 that within 5 years they expected you to have citizenship. I think that was one of the rulings there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I became a citizen in '54.
Yeah, and he was in the Union, so I don't know why he.
That's okay. I'm surprised to hear that.
He was in the
he
Union.
kept having trouble.
And he was married to an American, so I don't know why.
Yeah.
He kept having trouble getting his papers for some reason, and we have
I'm surprised. I never knew all of that.
yeah. So he didn't go overseas for some reason.
Mm.
He went to
He never
Canada,
went
but
overseas.
he had a tour booked in Europe in the mid-1930s that he ended up not going at the last minute.
Wow.
I
So
don't
there
know
was
if it-
something going on with his paperwork.
Didn't know that. Didn't
Yeah.
know that. Because stuff like that, he never shared with me, of course. When I thought, well, with all publicity and stuff, I said, this is a straight man
Should
here.
be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there was something happening there.
Wow.
So was that?
Yeah.
Well, with that year 2000 in Panama, we've gone with Gene and Enid, and they had this little inauguration, little concert. I was approached. And the person wanted to know how they could get in touch with your mom. I figured, well, the guy is a reporter.
The last thing that Danilo and we were talking about last week
Mm-hmm.
was having Louis Russell arrangements played by the students. Like having his music
Okay.
included in the curriculum. So,
Yes, sure.
and so they would that would be part of their
Mm-hmm.
learning. Part of their schooling.
They have copies of those arrangements?
No, we would be sending those because people we know had. Vince Giordano is a guy who does a lot of, but we don't have any Louis Russell arrangements on paper
Yeah.
because
Do you have any? Do you have the book?
no, I don't even know what happened to any of
Asking
that.
Frank.
Well,
I'm asking Frank.
problem with me is I've moved several times. Well, when Dina was 6, we moved from where with the dinners and stuff.
Yeah,
And we went next to Uncle Clinton in South Ozone Park. We shared, Uncle Clinton was 11446. I was 11444.
oh, okay.
Okay? With all this moving, plus, I think it was just about, I hope not, the time when your father passed, that we had a gig at the Savoy Manor. And my stand and the little thing with the music was stolen.
Oh.
They broke into the station wagon. The Uncle Clinton and I, we didn't think of it. We left the same time to take things into the hall. And just that quickly, somebody broke into the station wagon and took stuff. So I lost a lot of what he had left with me.
Is
Yeah.
there an influence from Panamanian music on Louis Russell Orchestra?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Because of my understanding, it was that Louis Russell, that whole thing came from New Orleans, where he hung out. Here and there, I saw a couple of things in the book that he might have written that had the Panamanian flavoring.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Like I said, I never heard the orchestra, so I don't know whether they performed anything.
We'll have to bring some recordings and listen to them.
Okay.
Well, this has been great.
Yeah.
Do you have any other anything you'd like to add?
Testing my memory back.
So your mother's name was, just tell me your mom.
My mother's name?
Yeah.
Hilda Smith. And she knew your grandfather. She had gotten a couple of lessons from your grandfather.
Okay.
He just about taught everybody there.
That's what we heard when we were there.
And the whole thing was that while she was carrying me, she was still playing the piano in church. So that's that's the whole thing with there, you know. But once I was born, she decided, hey, let me head for the city.
Mm-hmm.
He will not grow up here. It was good to see the place, though, in 2000, because, like I said, I'm trying to remember. Oh, the last time I had been there before that was 1956. And we came back, and I said, wait a minute. We taking the jet? Oh, no, I'm wrong. When we took Dina, it was 76, because it was my first legal vacation from Broadway. I'd done a Broadway show. On vacation time, you gotta take it. And say, okay. And we did go to Panama.
Yeah.
And so I remember landing at the ball field there. And then my kid brother, he was president of the Lions Club. And he had a private Piper Cub come pick us up from the ball field to Almirante.
Nice.
How about that?
I think they were playing soccer in the ball field. We landed and they had a game going on.
You flew to Panama City, and then a private plane took you to Bocas?
From when I landed in Panama?
Yeah.
No. You mean with the group in 2000?
No, when you went
in 76.
When you went in 76.
In 76, we took the whatever airliner was to Bocas.
Okay.
And then we had the private plane to take us from. I didn't know that it was the kid brother that planned this. Thought it would be nice. Just us.
That's great.
Dina, her mother, myself, and he. We went to Almirante. Now, 2000, another surprise. We took the plane, we went up to the airport, not in Bocas, but in Changuinola, and stayed overnight. When was that? I got it wrong. We went there, we changed clothes, and we got the water taxi. That was a big surprise to me, the water taxi. But my mother had told me about that water taxi thing. What used to take us an hour and a half by the launch? You heard your father talk about the matures, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Well, actually, I heard about the matures when I went to Panama.
Oh, okay.
He never talked about them.
All right. But they're related.
Yes.
All right. And they used to pilot these launches, passenger launches from Bocas to Almirante. Okay. It's like an hour and a half by this launch, and the fastest of them. Well, this water taxi thing is 20 minutes. 20 minutes, I was surprised. And we took off from Bocas. As a matter of fact, we took it from Almirante to Bocas, and I went to I was curious about the site, like my mother said. And then that's when I saw your grandfather's sign there.
Uh-huh.
And then we had lunch on the quay. I had Lowenbrow on the quay. Unbelievable. I'm not even having local beer here for lunch. Right. I'm having Lowenbrow. I mean, come on, this is class. And then we went back, and the water taxi took us back to Almirante. 20 minutes travel. How about that? So, it was an enjoyable trip here, 2000. And you had a good time when you were.
Yeah.
What year was that?
2008.
Okay. Oh, just lately.
Just lately, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then we met some cousins and
Yes. Good for
people
you.
came out, so it was good. It was good. And then they took us to Carine Key so we could see the remains of the house.
That's the key. Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I hope to get back there.
You plan another trip?
I hope so.
I still have some relatives. And they're saying, come on over, we'll take care of you. Yeah, no, that's what I'm afraid of.
Still have family in Bocas?
I don't think so. You met my sister.
Yeah. Last time I was here.
Yeah, okay.
But I remember her.
You remember her?
I remember her.
Okay.
As soon as I saw her face, I said,
All right.
and I don't think I'd seen her since I was a kid.
Okay. Well,
But I remembered her.
well, now, it was a trip getting her out of Bocas.
Really?
I had been there. Dina was born 61. And a guy in the club in Cologne kept saying, I just want you to come and play in the club at some time. So, all right, okay. I arranged it. I went for 10 days in 61. And then he said, well, you got to come back. I mean, come on. So 62, I went there for Carnival. Stayed 3 months. And then 63. Now, it was 63 I saw my sister. I said, Daphne, what's going on with you? Well, she said she worked for United Fruit Company. I mean, she has an important job. When the ship is loaded with the bananas, she weighs and then it goes out to sea. I said, but what kind of life is going on here for you? I said, you think you want to join us in New York? She says, I wouldn't mind. So I came and I spoke to an uncle that's here. Next thing I know, she was here about another year or so.
So in the 60s?
In 63.
So the fruit company was still in existence?
Yeah.
Until, okay.
It went through just different changes.
Mm-hmm.
But where were your people from before they got to Bocas?
Big question. I have no idea.
No idea, okay.
No idea.
Your parents and grandparents, you have no idea?
No, I think my mother was the third of 11. And they all grew up there in Bocas. I mean, I listen, I cannot imagine the lifestyle there, doing all of that. So, and that's why when my mother was replaced, she'd repeat, I said, it was 6 months old, I said, no, I am not going to let you grow up here into this. My father never left. The man never left Bocas. I think he made a couple of trips. When Jamaica got independence, he made a trip. I think he made a couple of trips to Costa Rica. And he would come Cologne now and then.
But he never came here.
No. Dina tried to work a charm on him. Grandfather Samuel, thank you. And he didn't hesitate to tell her that they had not built the ship or plane enough for him to make that trip. And it wouldn't have cost him a dime, because you retired from fruit company. But he never had a desire. His brother, the one I talked to about Daphne, his brother was willing. Would go and tell him, listen, you have a place to stay.
Mm-hmm.
There's no problem. Come and, he wouldn't do it.
And teacher Russell never came here.
There, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's the same kind of...
Yeah.
You know who, too? Nick Rodriguez's father, same kind of thing.
Never came.
But he was not from Bocas. He was more into the interior of Cologne. He was like a sheriff, law enforcement. and he never left. So it was something, that mindset that they didn't want to leave. And then there were those who left and after retirement or so went back to retire there and die there. So something about the place, I have no idea.
Yeah, because Ira, that's what Ira Brown's daughter, Mercedes. So that's what happened. She stayed here for a long time, then she went back there.
I did not know she left.
And then she was with a guy for a long time, and he didn't go back.
Mm-hmm.
But she went back. So they split up. That split them up. Because she wanted to go back and stay in Panama. Had a nice house, you know. So that's what she wanted to do. So she died down there.
Okay. But I don't know. I do not know. I do not understand it. But Kathy, as we are sitting around this table here, my late mom would sit, and I said, well, why is your memory drifting all the way back to that? And she'd be passionate about it. No, I had to get out.
Yeah.
No. And, you know, she helped her others to come. She helped her other siblings. My grandmother passed here. And
everybody came here.
61.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My grandfather, 1932, November, passed there. Yeah. But all the others managed. Oh, one aunt. She passed in 44. She's left there.
Mm-hmm.
But all the others came up.